Hi guys! Today I'm going to be showing you how to make my quick and simple wattle stitch blanket that we have here in front of us today. This is going to be a throw size blanket, so it's going to be 45 inches wide by 55 inches long. So this is a good, just simple throw blanket for you to create, and we're using super bulky yarn and a large hook, so it'll work out pretty quickly. This one took me about 7 hours to make, so it's a great weekend blanket. It's great for beginners, and the texture is really pretty, as you can see. It just gives a really good texture to it, and it's so squishy and soft. Alright, let's get started with the materials that you're going to need. For this blanket, I used Lion Brand Yarns Wool Ease Thick and Quick. Now I use their bonus bundle, which comes with quite a bit more yarn than they typically have. So this one comes with 212 yards, and I used 4 of these. So it equates to about 850 yards if you're going to be using different yarn or their smaller sized yarn. And this is going to be a super bulky size 6 yarn. You can use obviously any brand that you would like, but I love Lion Brand Wool Ease. It works up very nice, and I love the colors in this. This specific blanket was made with gray marble, and it just has really pretty flakes of golden browns and a little bit of a black flaky to it, so it gives a lot of good natural colors to it. And for this blanket, I used a size 11.5 millimeter hook. It is categorized as a P. This is my hook, a plastic one. I do prefer metal or wood, but this just so happened to be the one that I had. So that's the size hook that I used. Obviously you're going to need some scissors, and later on when you're weaving in those ends, you're going to need a yarn needle. And if you would like, you could definitely use a tape measure just to make sure that your measurements are on par with what I'm teaching today. It's not a necessity, but always nice to have a measuring tape around when you're doing blankets. Alright, let me push this back here, and let's grab our yarn and our hook and let's get started, guys. Alright, for this blanket, for these measurements specifically, I'm going to start by chaining 90. And also I want to mention, if you guys want to follow along with my instructions in a written form, I do have the written pattern for this, and it is only $1 in my store, so you guys can go ahead and click the link that I have posted and go ahead and get that if you'd like to follow along. I know when I was beginning, I like to read and follow along, so it helped me learn to read patterns. So it is only $1 for the PDF written format. Alright, so for the 45 by 55 inch blanket, I'm going to start by chaining 90. So I'm going to make a slip knot, insert my hook, and I'm going to chain 90. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, I decided to not count the full 90 on camera and bore you guys to death. But once you chain your 90, what we're going to do, our next step is going to be working our first wattle stitch, which is the special stitch used throughout the whole blanket. We're going to work it in our second chain from our hook. So here's our first chain, and here's our second chain. We're going to insert our hook and do a single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So for a single crochet, insert your hook, yarn over, pull that loop through, and then yarn over and pull through both loops. That will be your single crochet. And for a chain 1, yarn over and pull it through this loop. That's your chain 1. And now we're going to do a double crochet in that same space that we just worked. So we're going to yarn over, insert into that same space, yarn over, pull through. Should have 3 loops on your hook for a double crochet, and then we're going to yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through the last 2. And that will be your first wattle stitch. So a wattle stitch will consist of a single crochet, a chain 1, and a double crochet all in the same space. So for our next one, we're going to be working in the third loop. So we're going to skip 2 chains, skip these 2, 1, 2, skip those, and then in a third chain we're going to put our next wattle stitch. So insert your hook into that third stitch, yarn over, pull through, and create your single crochet. Chain 1, and double crochet in that same space. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2, and now you've created your second wattle stitch. Alright, and we're just going to do that all the way down the chain. Is you're going to skip 2, 1, 2, and work in the third one. You're going to create your single crochet, your chain 1, and your double crochet, all in that same space. Alright, and guys, we'll just keep doing that until we hit the end. When you're about 4 chains away from the end, I'll meet you back here. Alright, and we are 4 chains away from the end here. So what we're going to do on this foundation row is we're going to skip those 2 chains like we've been doing the rest of the chain and work our wattle stitch into that third chain. So skip 2, work our wattle stitch right here in the third. So we're going to do our single crochet, chain 1, and our double crochet all in that same space. Alright, and there should be 1 chain left, and what we're going to do is just simply put a single crochet in there to tie off our row. Alright, and that's how it should look for you guys. That will be our foundation chain. So for the next row and all of the rows in the rest of the pattern, we are just simply going to be working in the chain 1 spaces. So right here where my middle finger is poking through, we're going to work our wattle stitches right there in the chain 1 spaces. So let's go ahead and start our next row. We are going to chain 1, turn your work, and right here is where your chain 1 space is. So you're going to have a double crochet and a single crochet on each side, and then that big opening in the middle is where your chain 1 space is. You're going to work underneath it. So this is where your hook will be going. So insert your hook into that chain 1 space, yarn over, pull up, create your single crochet, chain 1, and do your double crochet, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that's how it will look for you guys. I'm stretching it out a little bit so you can see the definition of the chain 1 space. So your chain 1 space will be up here. See that? Alright, and we're going to just go to the next one, the next chain 1 space. So this would not be a chain 1 space. This is your single crochet from the previous round. So to make sure that you're in the right space, you can always make sure that there's a double crochet and a single crochet on either side. So this will be your next chain 1 space. You're going to insert your hook and do your wattle stitch right there in that chain 1 space. So there's our single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet all in that same space. Alright, so here's our next chain 1 space. Again, this is a single crochet, so make sure you're in the correct space there. So chain 1 space, insert your hook, do a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Alright, and just keep doing that in all your chain 1 spaces until we get to the very end, and I'll meet you there. I just want to show you, this will be our chain 1 space right here where my middle finger is. So here's our double crochet and our single crochet, and we're going to work a wattle stitch right here in the last chain 1 space. Oops. There we go. Work a wattle stitch. So that's a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. And then I just want to show you, we're going to end each row with a single crochet in the last space available. So this would be right here. We're going to work a single crochet. And that's going to end our row and keep our edges a little more even. So for all the rest of our rows, there should be about 60 of them to get the 55-inch length. We're going to keep doing exactly what we just did for this row. So we're going to chain 1 and turn our work here and work in the chain 1 spaces. So you chain 1, turned, insert your hook, and create your wattle stitches in those chain 1 spaces. So there's our single crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. Alright, and you guys are just going to keep doing that same method for the rest of those 60 rows and just working in those chain 1 spaces, and remember to put that single crochet at the very end of each row and you'll be doing good. Alright, and we'll check in at the end. Alright, I also wanted to show you guys how to attach your next ball of yarn once you run out, and then also what to do with those pesky ends that we have to weave in at the end. I'll show you a little trick how to make that a little bit easier for you when using chunky yarn. So now to attach a new color, you know, I've ran out and I need to attach my next ball of yarn, and for this I used all the same color. You can use different colors if you would like, but I would suggest using all the same color if you're a beginner, just to make it a little easier on yourself. But to attach a new ball of yarn, it can be done many ways. Here's just a couple that I find easy. Of course my favorite, but it's kind of frowned upon against, but I like to do it, especially with chunky yarn, because you can't really tell. I like to just knot it, but I leave a little bit of a tail so I can weave those in, but I just knot it and pull on it. Again, that's not always the best method, but I did do that. I have done it in the past, and it was okay, but some people, you know, they frown upon that, so this is just one way. Let me cut that so I can show you the other way. Also, people like to do it when they're at the end of a row. So let's say I'm ending my row and I'm about to do my single crochet in my last spot. Instead of using the rest of your yarn and finishing it that way, people will keep the 2 loops on their hook. They'll create a slip knot and they will put the loop there on the end and finish their stitch that way, and then you can just kind of pull down to tighten it, and then you'd do your chain 1, and then you would continue like that. And that's also good because then it keeps all of your loose ends on the edge, so it's kind of easier to weave in at the end. So those are some ways that you can attach your new yarn. And then when you're totally finished with your whole blanket, you're gonna finish your last single crochet, and then I always like to make a chain 1 but pull my yarn all the way through like this and pull it to make it tight, to make a knot at the end, and this is another end that you have to weave in. So I used 4 balls, so I had a few loose ends, not many, but a fun trick that I learned recently to tie in loose ends, you're gonna need your yarn needle, so grab that. I like to get ones with the wide opening, especially with chunky yarn, and like if you're using like a sewing needle, that might be a tad too small. So get a tapestry needle like this one, and what I learned, because you know typically we throw these yarn sleeves away, so we can cut a little rectangle out. Doesn't have to be perfect, I mean, clearly. Just cut this out, a little rectangle, fold it in half, and then cut it at a diagonal slant, so we have like a nice little pointy. And then you're gonna take your yarn and put it in there like a little hot dog in a bun, a little hot dog yarn, and then pull it back a little bit so there's not that much fuzzy sticking out at the top. And we're gonna take our tapestry needle and we're just gonna slide it in there like so. And then you can just take this, you know, throw that away. But then you will have your yarn attached to your needle, and then we can sew in our loose ends. And you can do that. I usually just like to go in every direction. So I pull it in. I just like to get it in a lot of different directions. That way it's really in there. I'm going to go upward, downward, and you want to just keep going until your yarn is pretty much off the needle. And then once you have weaved it in a few different directions, you can just snip it off. And I like to give it a little wiggle, make sure it's in place, and then your tail is gone. So that is what you'll have to do for all the loose ends that you have on your blanket. But then once you're all done, your blanket will be so nice and cozy like this. And it just has a really wonderful texture, and it's super warm and cozy. and it's a wonderful first blanket to make if you're a beginner, and also a quick and easy blanket to make if you're experienced like me. I really enjoyed this blanket. It worked up so quick, and now it is just going to go on my couch for all of my lovely guests to snuggle up with when they come over. Alright guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you make tons of waddle stitch blankets, and feel free to tag me on Instagram to show me all your wonderful blankets. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.